Welcome to Behind the Bar. It is day 15 of the Diddy criminal trial, and it has been a doozy. In the morning, we had a potential mistrial in the case. We'll get into that a bit later, but one of the key witnesses of the day was a man named Deontay Nash, who was a stylist for Diddy and Cassie, who testified about his observations during the course of his employment and what he saw in terms of Cassie getting beaten and things that she said.
This is really sensational testimony. He's testified. He was with Cassie constantly. He was her stylist. I believe he was paid by Bad Boy to be with her all the time, to pick out outfits for her, to handle her makeup, her hair.
She was their artist they were pushing from 2007 to 2012, according to Capricorn Clark. She got all the attention, so she had stylists around her, managers, and so forth. He was one of the guys who was always around her.
And so this guy gets to the stand. First of all, he's extremely entertaining in sort of the over-the-top stylist way, and he is like making the jury laugh in a number of points. He's sort of endearing himself to the jury.
A little bit like the Punisher had his moment.
Right.
This is Deontay's moment.
So Deontay said, just to get right to it, it's awful testimony. It's horrible to listen to and now to read some of the testimony. But he frequently saw Diddy beat her. One time at Cassie's house, it was so bad, Diddy smashed her face into a bed frame. Deontay Nash was there with another of Cassie's assistant, Mia, who's going to be taking the stand in the next couple of days, maybe tomorrow. And has been labeled early on, as a quick aside. Mia was victim, I believe, 3. She's the mystery victim 3, I believe. But in any event, we'll hear about her more tomorrow. But Deontay Nash was there. He and Mia both jumped on Diddy because they saw the damage they were doing to Cassie. Diddy pulls back. He's going to turn. Deontay feels turn on Mia and Dante, and he looks down. And he sees now Cassie's entire face is covered in blood. And he kind of snaps out of it, and he says, "Look what you guys made me do," which is just the most horrific possible response.
And I think this kind of testimony is critical to the government's case because Cassie on the stand, as credible as she was, standing there pregnant, many domestic violence cases or cases that have elements of domestic violence, it's he said, she said. And often you'll see it didn't happen that way from the other opponent. Here, enough of it was done in front of other people. And I don't think Diddy is running away from this. It doesn't seem to be his defense strategy. That the way it hits the jury is not only did Cassie testify to an abusive relationship, other people saw him beat me up.
And we have the video.
There are videos. Yeah. There's a hotel video. So this is really, I think, hammering home the point that this was at a minimum a very abusive relationship. But now the government, through Deontay, started to make the nexus between sex trafficking by force, because that's really what they need. They need that she perform these freak-offs in a non-consensual manner because she was forced to do so. How did Deontay help connect those dots?
Very great point, and very specifically is how he did it. He said that he saw Diddy threaten to release sexually explicit videos of Cassie, which we've heard about before. It happened right in front of him. He asked if they would also. Cassie was saying, "I'm really worried about this." Deontay said, "Aren't you worried that Diddy's gonna implicate himself too? Because isn't he in the videos?" And Cassie said, "No, he forces me to have sex with men, other than Diddy, and then he films that, he records that, and that's why Diddy's not implicated. He can release videos that just show me having sex with other people." She said she didn't want to engage in this sex with other men, but she said she did it because initially says Diddy wanted me to. Later, she says that she did it because she was scared that he would hurt her if she didn't.
I mean, if you believe this testimony, it's devastating because this is what people have been waiting for: is did she feel forced into these freak-offs? Now, as a legal matter, this testimony, when someone is on the stand, Deontay is saying, "I recall this conversation with Cassie and Diddy. This is what Cassie said." Often that will fall under hearsay, because hearsay is a statement that is outside of court. So a conversation with Cassie outside of court offered to the jury for the truth of that statement. So to say that Cassie actually said, "I'm scared of Diddy releasing the sex tapes," that would be hearsay. But here there's an exception to get it in.
Yeah. What they're offering, what the prosecutors are offering this testimony for, is not that in fact Diddy did in fact make this threat. What they're offering it for is that Cassie felt that she was threatened.
Her state of mind.
It is her state of mind, and that's an exception to the hearsay rule. And so what they're offering it for is Cassie believed that Diddy was going to release this unless she continued to have the freak-offs. And there, you get the elements you need to prove the case, and it's admissible, exception to the hearsay rule.
You need that. I mean,
Yeah.
many cases rely on these exceptions to hearsay, so it's not as if you should disbelieve it because, oh, that's hearsay. Who knows whether she said it? It doesn't matter whether Diddy actually made this threat and you believe that those words were uttered. What matters is, did Cassie feel it? What was her state of mind? And if she felt like she was forced to do these things, that's admissible under a hearsay exception.
And let's get down to it. We all sitting here, you and I at least, we know, we believe in our heart of hearts that Diddy was forcing her at some level to engage in these freak-offs through promises of helping her career, through physical violence, through all sorts of torture and terror that he was putting her through. But it's not enough for us to know it and believe it in our hearts.
They got to prove it.
They got to prove it with specific testimony. And Cassie offered some of that, but it was more, there were a lot of reasons why she engaged in this kind of conduct. It was a lot of because she really wanted to please Diddy. She wanted to make him happy. She loved him. She said over and over again.
It's a complicated 11-year relationship.
Very complicated. That's the way to be. Very complicated. Here we have Deontay Nash corroborating that he heard Cassie say that the real reason she continued to engage in these activities is because she was scared of him.
Yeah.
And that is the crime.
And it's devastating. So whether his credibility will be whether it'll land with the jury, we don't know. The jurors are sitting there and they may think this guy's a clown who I don't believe this testimony. But it's going to be hard because the prosecution in sitting him up there said, how do you know them? They established the foundation of, I was the stylist. I worked with her for a number of years. All of those things are not really contested.
Yes.
He was the stylist. He was with her for a number of years. And once you walk them down that path, it seems believable that he observed some of these things.
All right. So just to finish up his direct testimony, another time he said that Diddy and an employee of Diddy's, one of his enforcers, came to Deontay's house. They stole his phone, forced him to drive to a hotel where Cassie was staying because they couldn't find Cassie, and Deontay knew where she was. So they threatened him, stole his phone.
Now we're back into Rico.
Exactly. Then Diddy, one of the henchmen, and Nash drove to the hotel. The henchman and Nash went up, got Cassie out of the hotel. Nash said that Cassie said that basically what's going to happen to me right now is I'm going to go over this balcony. Basically I'm in fear for my life. Nash said when he later returned to his home the next morning, he found that his backpack, ID, $1,000 in cash, and his iPad had all been stolen. He knows they had been in his house. Now this stuff's stolen. It was probably cumulative, probably unnecessary to the case because he's not being charged with that crime, but nevertheless the jury heard it.
Yeah. And when you hear about these tactics, they're building their RICO case. RICO is just, did he use illegal tactics like a mafia boss to carry out an illegal enterprise? And that's what they're building here. Yeah, arson towards Kid Cudi, burglary, and the break-in at Kid Cudi's house, the sort of strong-arm tactics like this, kidnapping people. It was all mentioned in the indictment. We're now fleshing this out. They said Diddy, over a number of years, used all of these illegal tactics, and now we're hearing testimony about them.
So he also, just to finish this up, said that at least one occasion Diddy got physically violent with Deontay Nash himself, just in these rages that he would feel towards Cassie, sort of lifted Deontay Nash up and threatened him. These are all the elements of control that go into what the prosecutors have been trying to prove all along.
Yeah. So let's shift gears. Let's talk about the mistrial.
Yes.
So there was a very big moment with a different witness on the stand. This was an arson investigator. You remember Kid Cudi testified that shortly after a break-in at his house, a couple weeks after a break-in at his house, someone came, cut a hole on the top of his Porsche, put in a Molotov cocktail, it exploded, and then the cops were called. During the course of that investigation of that arson, the cops lifted fingerprints, and they said that they were able to find the fingerprint of an unknown female. So then, in investigating the case, they looked into the break-in at Cudi's house a few weeks earlier. That break-in also had cops called, and fingerprints were also taken in that investigation. The fingerprints from the break-in were subsequently destroyed. The reason which we don't know. That happened in December 2011. They were destroyed in August 2012. That's a pretty short period of time to get rid of evidence. Oftentimes, evidence will be destroyed for perfectly innocuous reasons. It's a cold case. It's very old. It's been solved. We no longer need it in our files.
This was not a cold case. This was an
active
investigation, right?
It was a very active investigation. When this was said in testimony on the stand by the arson investigator, Diddy's lawyers jumped up and said, we need a mistrial.
Right.
And the reason they said that was twofold. One, by presenting the connection between the fingerprint of the unknown female from the arson and the fingerprints that were collected but then destroyed from the break-in, they've sort of insinuated that there's a connection, but they can't really make it. They can't make the connection because the fingerprints don't exist.
The whole thing, right, is to connect Diddy, who we know through testimony was one of the people who had broken into Cuddy's house, connect that testimony to the firebombing of Cuddy's car, which they're not able to really link. Everybody suspects it was Diddy, but they're not able to link it. They were trying to link it through this fingerprint testimony, but the fingerprints from the house, from the apartment break-in, were destroyed. So the fact that they had testified to the existence of those fingerprints,
it's that idea,
but then unable to prove it with the card. The defense is like, "Hey, you just prejudiced my client by putting in the jury's head that he was involved in both, and now all of a sudden you can't even establish the piece of paper that might actually show it. You prosecutors have played dirty. We want a mistrial."
Yeah, that's right. So that is grounds for a mistrial in and of itself. Then they sent
they say
jury,
it was grounds.
that's what they wanted. They said this should be a mistrial. This is prejudice our client. They then send the jury out.
Yeah.
And they had a conversation with the judge. And in that conversation, they said, even worse, what you've done by the testimony about the fingerprints being destroyed is you've planted in the heads of the jury that Diddy was behind the destruction of the evidence.
Yes, that's right.
That Diddy sort of maybe paid an LAPD person to destroy evidence to get his fingerprints out of the break-in case. And so they're saying it's doubly harmful. It's harmful for that first reason. You're making a link you can't establish, and you're also insinuating in front of the jury that Diddy, a rich and powerful person, might have been able to destroy evidence. So this is really grounds for a mistrial. Now, the judge said, not going to get this whole case thrown out on mistrial. What the judge did was told the jurors, brought them back in and said, please strike all that testimony.
Ignore it.
Ignore it. You're not allowed to deliberate upon it. It's as if it didn't happen, and we will move on with the trial. The motion for mistrial is denied, but I'm admonishing you to disregard that testimony, and I'm striking it from the record. What's the practical effect of that?
The practical effect is that the jury, the bell has been rung. The jury's heard all the testimony. They, assuming they do their job, they will not discuss it openly in deliberations, and there's a lot of evidence in this case, so there's going to be a lot they don't consider or whatever it is, but they won't be able to bring this up and talk about it.
But it could sink in.
But it's there. It sinks in, right? You're creating this atmosphere of guilt and thuggery on Diddy's behalf, and this is just one more piece of evidence for it.
But what Diddy did was preserve an issue.
He preserved an issue. So a few things. Number one, every single criminal case has evidence that is presented that the judge later instructs the jury not to consider during deliberations. It happens in every single case. Number two, there are motions for mistrials that are made by the defense in basically every single criminal case. It happens all the time.
It's almost malpractice not to raise it. They have to, if they see an issue like this, raise it and try to get their client off.
Number three, very, 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 very hard to win that appeal.
Yeah, the Alec Baldwin situations are very very hard to win that motion.
The motion, judges are incredibly reluctant to grant mistrials because think about having to rewind from the start. And number four, even if once they lose the motion, which they've now lost, the judge didn't grant their motion, very hard to win an appeal. That said, this is a thorny legal issue. I mean, I think prosecutors did play a little dirty here.
Yeah, it's a little bit of dirty pool. I got to be honest. When you say something in front of the jury, the prosecutors know how that testimony is going to land. They've thought through it. These are very qualified prosecutors in the Southern District of New York, and they probably had an inkling that the jurors might make that connection, even though we can't make that connection. So is that dirty pool? Yes. Is it winnable for an entire mistrial in a case with this much accumulation of evidence? Not a chance.
All right, a few comments. Rid Mai said, who gave investigators Cassie and Capricorn's name to investigators? Was it Kid Cudi? We don't know, but this has been a multi-year investigation by the best prosecutors in the world. They talk to everybody.
And they also have emails they've looked at. They could see who's in Diddy's life through a number of sources. It doesn't mean Kid Cudi told them.
And remember, Capricorn Clark worked with Cassie. We know Cassie's been working with officials for forever, for months and months at least. So I'm sure that Cassie was the person. You know, you walk out of this initial meeting. I've done this where I've met with clients in civil cases. You walk into this initial meeting with 40 people you have to talk to. In this case, probably 400 people you had to talk to. And then they systematically go through all those people and talk to whomever will talk to them.
That's why the investigation took so long.
That's right.
Pride Rock says, why did he never release the videos once their relationship was over? So are you asking, I assume you're talking about the sex videos.
Yeah, why didn't he do it after the relationship was over? My guess is that
incriminate him?
Well, My guess is Diddy never intended to release these videos. You know, sort of like people who try to extort with like, pay me Bitcoin or I'm gonna release this. It's like you never intend to do it. You just want to get out of the person what you want by the threat alone.
Yeah, you're not trying to tell the world about the sex tapes. As soon as he lost control of her, the videos to him had less value as well.
But we did publish one of the tapes, right? This is a few months ago. We had the video, or at least we've seen a video, right? That we
I think we have. I think there have been
what
these
did
things that
come
float
public,
around
not
that
us
haven't been-
personally, but
yes,
that
yes.
was out there on the internet of one of these kind of things that leaked briefly. Mishona says, but isn't bringing prostitutes across state lines a federal crime? What about the money demanded from her parents? All right, let's separate these things.
Yes.
The first one, yes, he's actually charged with bringing prostitutes across state lines. That is a federal charge. He's been in jail for, what is it, 9 months now or so?
something
Maybe not
like
that
that.
long. And that would probably be time served. That's the only crime for which he is committed, bringing prostitutes across state lines. It's a federal crime. That's why he's being charged in federal court, that crime alone.
That's right. They've got bigger game, though. If they just get a conviction on transporting across state lines for the purpose of sex, I don't think prosecutors would consider that a win.
The money demanded from his parents, that was actually what he claimed that Cassie owed him. So that's not a crime to demand that. Now, you can say that it's evidence of more of an extortionate plot. But that would require additional evidence they probably don't have.
Yeah, they're trying to fit that into the RICO and the sex trafficking by force. That's what that relates to, and we'll see if it works.
Yeah.
Jamie said, if Capricorn Clark said she was at the house, what do fingerprints got to do with it? Well, I mean, Capricorn Clark is a witness on the stand. She can say whatever she'd like, but hard evidence of a fingerprint of placing someone at the scene is a lot more reliable than someone just saying they were there.
There are three types of evidence, right? Generally speaking, you have circumstantial evidence, which is like, look at this, don't you figure this also happened? Then you have eyewitness testimony, and both of those are really unreliable. You know what's really reliable? Physical evidence. And
physical evidence is a good kind.
DNA evidence, fingerprint evidence, blood splattering evidence. These are the physical evidence. This is what wins and loses cases.
That's what you want.
Loses cases, yeah.
A couple comments. Sunshade said, I like Judge Subramanian. Fair. I agree. I think he's running this case. It's a very high profile case, and I think he's doing it pretty damn well so far.
Yeah. Prince 550, a bunch of he said, she said. The prosecutors have to start showing some evidence. Prince 550, your Diddy leanings are showing here. This is not he said, she said. There is mountains of evidence. Now, you can say you don't believe the evidence that's been submitted. You can say that the counter evidence overwhelms the evidence that you've seen submitted by prosecutors, but this is not a he said, she said
He
case.
said, she said would be just Cassie on the stand as the only witness. When there are multiple witnesses corroborating it, you're outside of the realm of he said,
I'm just
she
curious as to what Prince 550 would say. Would say he said, she said, and you also have a video that was played of him kicking the shit out of her.
Yeah.
Where does that fall in?
Yeah,
He said,
video
she
said, also 40 other employees said. There's a lot more than just he said, she said.
And also, he hasn't denied most of what's been alleged as well. He hasn't denied beating her. He hasn't denied having freak offs. So it's he said, and then he said again, then he admitted, and then she said, he said, the video said.
This is a bigger case. It's a bigger case. And we will keep you updated with all the developments, and that'll do it for today.
See you guys.